I'm a snowman. I'm an antisocial freebaser. You people turn to me, I'm an alcoholic. By the grace of God, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and people like you and me in rooms like this, I'd say it's over today. I've got a sobriety date of June 1st, 1993. For that I'm grateful. I don't say it to be proud. I say it because I'm less than 1 meter away from my next drink or drug unless I maintain the spiritual conditions outlined by the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Anyone know the 7-step prayer? My Creator, I'm willing you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that now you remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I do out from here and do your bidding. Amen. I thought about this workshop hard, and it's strange how God works. The first marathon meeting I went to, and the only one so far of this convention, the topic was the 9-step promises. Anyone place bets? What do you think the odds are on that? Odds, or is it God's? I think that was God's will. 12-step promises are on page 83 and 84 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I Googled how many promises there are, and Google says there's 147 promises in the Big Book. There may be more, depending on your opinion. Because what everyone reads is always different. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed for we're halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and new happiness. We will not regret the past and wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we'll know peace. No matter how far down the I don't even know if I'm getting this right. No matter how far down the scale we've gone, we see how experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will truly know how to handle situations used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Oh, these extravagant promises. They are filled among us, sometimes slowly. They will always mature as if we... There you go. That's the main part right there. So, anyone know what the first promise is? If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, be amazed. Are we going to be amazed? There's conditions. It starts with the word if. If is a very big word. If I'm painstaking, what does that tell you? To me, it means it's going to be kind of hard, or I'm going to be very diligent. It has to be the main thing. It says we're going to be amazed, but we're halfway through. Halfway through what? The 9th step. Thank you. Now, how do we get to the 9th step? Can we do it without 8? Can we do 8 without 6 and 7? Can we do the 9th step without the 5th, which leads to the 8th? So we need to do a 4th step. How do we do that? Well, we do 1, 2, and 3. I thought about the steps, and I've always thought them as lineal, right to left. I think the Chinese had it right. It's up to down. Because the book says we want a bedrock on which purposeful lives can be built. So it starts with that foundation of step 1. Step 1 is the only one you got to work perfectly. You have to admit, for me, that I was an alcoholic and drug addict, and that's a good thing. Second part, my life was unmanageable, even without the drugs and alcohol. So we start with that step. And from that one, which is perfect, then we build the other ones on. They can be a little skew, a little 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. If you're not honest about your fourth and fifth, you're going to be screwed on your eighth. Which means what to the ninth? I'm not painstaking. Don't cheat yourself. So many of us cheat ourselves when we come in here and want to skip through them really fast. That is not the case, in my opinion. Being amazed before halfway through, for me, I don't think I felt that. It was later on, when I had some knowledge about the book and what I was doing, that the epiphany that, wow, I was amazed before halfway through. You know, meaning my amends said, you know what, thank you very much. We can now leave our purses out, not hide our wallets, you know, not have to lock the car up, you know, because I wasn't drinking and using anymore. And they were grateful I was sober. I had fear of some of these people, that they were going to still shun me. I didn't want to see them. I didn't want to talk to them. But they said thank you and welcomed me back into their lives with open arms. And for that, I'm grateful. We're going to new freedom. The new freedom we get, what is the new freedom? Well, if we've done our, you know, halfway through the financial amends, we've paid back our lawyers, our attorneys, our courts and judges and parents, and because those are usually the most important creditors. I don't have to run, I don't have to hide with a new freedom. I can walk around with my head held high. From that, I get happiness because I'm allowed to be me again. I'm allowed to show my face at places, show up to family functions where they accidentally forgot to tell me it was happening. And knowing that, happiness of where I was going, that I had a direction, purpose. I knew this was the right thing to do. We will not regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. This is a difficult one for me, or it was at first. Because being a drug addict and alcoholic, we tend to think that we're kind of the lower level of society. And from that, we think low of ourselves. I don't think that today. I'm grateful the drugs and alcohol that got me here. Because without that, I wouldn't have the freedom within. I wouldn't have happy, joyous, and free. You know, I know that my life is being guided by the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous. I was asked last night in the atrium out there by a gentleman, he goes, "Do you think the 12 steps can solve all your problems?" I said, yes. It takes the fear and insecurity away. My problems are gone. You know, I haven't missed a meal in 31 years. You know, my bills are always paid at the end of the month, even though sometimes I didn't think so. I'll explain that later. I was actually going to call my mother. At the beginning of this, she didn't answer because she's been a person of life of service since she married my father back in the 50s. Never asked for anything. Always did stuff for other people. Never looked for recognition. Why can't I do that? Why can she never smoke, rarely drink, and not worry about what other people think of her, which was my main problem? You know, how come I get it and she doesn't? I mean, I had the greatest example of how to be a human being in my house. Why did I want to feel different? Because it's between my ears. That's where my problem lies. Drugs and alcohol are yet but a solution for deeper underlying emotional and mental problems. I know that today. And I accept that. I accept that being an alcoholic now is the best thing that ever could have happened to me. Because I think today, if I would have just been a quitter, running around the streets of Southern California doing my thing, hurting other people, selfish and self-centered. I get this term I call submarine Christians. They come into church on Sunday and do the hallelujahs, and then Monday through Saturday they're, talking about other people, talking behind their back, trying to make them feel less than they are, putting them down. And I'm not like that today. It's my best tool to stay sober. Not regretting my past, because I'm not ashamed of who I was or what I did, because it got me here. It can be that simple. It's not a punishment to be an alcoholic and drug addict. And that's what we think when we come in here. This is some sort of punishment, the courts. Everyone is here because something horrible in their life happened to either them or a family member and said, well, you need help. Or maybe you just had the epiphany of, I can't do this anymore. For me, I had a hole in my chest that I know every person in here had. And I remember that feeling like it was yesterday, and I hold on to that feeling. Because if I don't do these things, these steps, this book, this sponsor, this service work, I know it's all going to come back. I know it will because I've proven it to myself before. I'll explain that in a few. I need to remember how my best life started. My best life started in my first Cocaine Anonymous meeting in 1993. Now, I didn't get to, walk into a meeting and get sober. I decided I was done. Alcoholics Anonymous didn't work for me. I didn't drink like them. I was looking for differences, not similarities. That's why my sobriety date is not August 3rd, 1989, because I didn't do the simple steps required in my life to take care of it's not my drug addiction, it's my thinking. Alcohol was my shield and suit of armor that protected me of what you thought of me. I found out in my fifth step that I was using and selling drugs because it gave me power over other people, which I couldn't normally get. And I only found that out by doing a thorough and honest fifth step with a man who I admired. We will comprehend the word serenity and will know peace. Comprehending serenity is one thing. I saw it in other people first. I saw it in Tom when I came back in the rooms. I saw it in Randy from the day he got here. And I saw it in my other friends. I didn't see it myself till sometime later. It takes practice. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, what does that mean to you? It doesn't mean that an attorney with a house, a home, and Rolls Royces in the driveway cannot help an intravenous drug user from the streets, because they felt the same. There's another program I won't mention the name of that every time I go in there, I feel like, because I didn't slam dope, I don't feel accepted. And the people I've ran into there seem to think they were better dope heads because they were lower down. And I don't see the peace and serenity in that group of people. I have made a decision to go to more of those meetings to see if I'm lying to myself or not. Maybe I just haven't gone enough meetings. My sponsor always said, you go to a meeting. If you don't like it, go back 2 more times. Don't decide one meeting is bad the first time you go. Because I've been to some great meetings that once in a while they're just not so great, in my opinion. We all felt the same. I know every person in this room felt the same right here. When my story, like I said, I quit drinking August 3rd, 1989. My life got better. But I didn't get a sponsor. I wasn't working the steps and wasn't required to stay until that fateful day came when I sucked on the devil's dick again. Someone shoved a pipe in front of my mouth and I took a pull on it. And my brain said, I can do this every other weekend. I don't remember the other weekend ever. I just remember it really fast. I picked up right where I left off. I still haven't drank, though. Yeah. So that's what I told myself. At least I'm not drinking. You know. They didn't have a breathalyzer for cocaine back then, so as long as you weren't drinking, you were pretty much okay. Uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Uselessness. How did it become useful in the program of Cocaine Anonymous? Being of service. Where do we start? Coffee. Coffee's important. Tea, okay? I mean, we don't have greeters where I am, but I remember at the Sister Elizabeth building, Randy will remember this, a Tuesday night in the city of Orange, a place where they sent all the famous people like I won't say Christofferson's name. Sorry. I remember making that big pot of coffee. And I was glad to, because I found my tribe, I found my people. I found people that thought like me. And this is the only place in the world I've been able to find it in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. That self-pity will go away. If you work those other 8 steps properly. Like I said before, this is the best thing. Being a dope addict is probably the best thing that ever could have happened to me. I can't imagine me at 12 years old not drinking, wondering where my head would be at 32 years old when I decided to get sober. I had bad thinking, and I realized that. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. How do we do that? How do I gain interest in my fellows? Well, I buy them coffee or a piece of pie after a meeting. Invite them out for coffee afterwards. This is the only place I know where doing stuff for other people makes me a better person. This is the only place that I know of. I figured it out last week. If I keep everybody around me happy, and I'm surrounded by happy people, I'm happy. If I make everyone around me restless, irritable, and discontent, what do you think my life's going to be like? I'm going to be around a bunch of restless, irritable, discontent, drug addicts or not, those people out there. And when I talk about that, it's those people out there that disturb me, or used to. Self-seeking will slip away. If I'm busy calling my sponsees because they don't call me, which I do, if I'm busy helping others, I don't have any time to think about myself. My dreams, my aspirations, where I think I should be. I am where I'm supposed to be. I almost didn't make it here. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. That does take some time. It doesn't come automatically. We usually see these things in retrospect. We see them in the mirror. Oh, wow, look at, I remember when I used to act like that. I remember when I used to do things like that. It's not something you're halfway through the 9 steps. You go, wow, look at this, is great. Fear of people. So here's the thing. I talked about the shield and suit of armor that protected me of what you thought of me. I was in fear of people. Everybody, especially females. Couldn't talk to you. I couldn't have a conversation. And look what you people have done to me. It's kind of flipped around the other way. I have to watch how long I speak, how long I talk, who I talk to, because you can't shut me up if you let me go. See, there you go. Take it from an ex-trustee. He knows. It's none of my business what people think of me. Did you hear that? It's none of my business what any of you, any of them think of me. It's between me and my Creator, whomever it is. Whomever. I heard a speaker earlier today talking about God and religion. For me, it's two different things. I claim the word Catholic. That's where I choose to go to church, when I go to church, when I decide to. This is my main thing. I do that when I have time. And I don't mince the two. God is spiritual. He's all around us, whether it's the tree outside, the emblem on your neck, or whatever it is you choose your higher power is. It's everywhere. If you don't believe in a higher power, come to Southern California. Well, I'll pick you up. We'll drive out to the pier at Huntington Beach. And we'll walk out in the ocean together, and you stand there, and you hold the waves back. And then I'll ask you if you think you're the biggest, baddest thing on this earth. Because you're not. And I know I'm not. Fear of economic insecurities. God, that's a tough one, isn't it? But it's his stuff, her stuff, its stuff, not mine. I acquired these things through sobriety for doing the next right indicated thing. Not buying dope on Friday, which means I don't buy dope on Saturday, which doesn't mean I have to steal Saturday night to Sunday to make it through the weekend to be able to go to work on Monday. I had a family-owned business I was in, so I've never been fired. I've had one job my whole life. I don't know what it's like looking for a job. I don't have the fear of, going and trying to get employment. If you do, I hope you're the best. Economic insecurity. Let's talk about this for a second. So I get sober, boy meets girl on the AA campus. Have a kid, get married, in that order. Well, the kid was coming. So I did the next right indicated thing, and I married my wife. Her name was Snow White. She passed away December 12th of 2022. Some of you people met her. Some of the people were here in Holland 2 years ago in Amsterdam. And not everyone liked her, but I think everyone loved her. Me and my friend Chris, we have butted heads more time. We were like rams, just, with the GSO at our, And I get to call him a good friend today and tell him I love him. I used to say, I can love all of you, but I don't like all of you. That has changed. It's in the promises, but that takes time. This is things you work on. You don't get done with this. You don't get finished with this. Stuff doesn't make you happy. I don't have a helicopter, and I don't have a plane. Pretty much got everything else. Loads of cars, boats. I had a boat, I got a jet skis, I got a road racing car, I've got an off-road racing car, a couple Harleys. Harleys help. Harleys aren't bad, riding motors, motorcycles make me happy. I don't know about you, but the other stuff, it can come and go. And I tell you from someone experience, taking care of all these things that God has given me is a pain in the ass. Sometimes I wish I just had one thing, because I insure, I got it. Sobriety's given me the gift of insurance, health insurance, car insurance. I get to. These promises tell me I get to do these things. We intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. I got to tell you a little story. So maybe you see it on the app. I paid for the hotel as soon as it was possible. I did forget to register, but we've got this holiday in the United States called the 4th of July. Something about us knocking the shit out of the English, I'm not sure. You let us win, okay? Yeah, there you go. I'll leave it there. And I opened my, last thing I was doing was putting my passport in my bag. I happened to open it, thank God, and it said expires in May. So that means you got to go to the federal courthouse in Los Angeles from where I am, which is at the moment in time, I was an hour and 34 minutes away. And I looked at that passport and I laughed at myself. And I'm thinking, I've got a suitcase full of T-shirts I'm bringing to donate. I'm bringing a quilt that's hanging out there. My wife bought at a convention in 2021. I got all this stuff, and now I might not go. Did I panic? No. I intuitively know how to handle situations used to baffle me. What's the first thing you do? Grab the computer, right? No. I sat down on my bed and I said, God, if you don't want me to go, and you have better work for me here, whether it be work at the shop or working with an alcoholic addict, thy will be done, not mine. And I left it up to him. I calmly and serenely grabbed the computer, looked up for an appointment, you need an appointment? Go to the appointment schedule, no appointments till next week. So what do? Find a phone number, call it. Lady says, yeah, we got an appointment at 8:30. It's 8:20. I'm an hour and 34 minutes away by car. There's traffic. And she says, maybe there's another lady who can help you. And she put me to her, we have an appointment at 9 o'clock. Now I'm an amateur race car driver. I know I can make it there pretty quick. And I did all this stuff, and she gave me a code and email and all the other stuff, and I hopped on the Harley and I split. 45 minutes, I'm there. 15 minutes late. And I'm like, safely too. I didn't go too crazy. And I walk up, and there's a line 100 meters long. To get through the metal detector, do I run to the front and panic? I gotta go to Amsterdam. No. I sat down with the rest of the people, because you know what? They are just as important as I am. It would be rude and selfish of me, which this promises say I'm free of selfishness. So I sit in line with everyone else. Get up to the lady with a computer thing. There's a lady walking around with a carton computer and all the paperwork and pencil. What's your code number? What's this? What's it? I was out of there. 12 o'clock, paid for it. My sponsor tells me to do the next right indicated things. 12 o'clock, what do you eat lunch? No, I go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Because there's no Cocaine Anonymous meetings in downtown LA on Workshop Boulevard on the 405 freeway. Found a place over on Pico Boulevard and went over there, walked in the club, and guess what? There's a meeting going on. Speaker, great speaker. I get to share, and about 6 or 7 people come after me and say, you know what? I needed to hear that today, that you prayed about it, and it all worked out. I was amazed that I walked out with a passport that day. We suddenly realize that God does for us what we can't do for ourselves. How does he do that? Well, he puts that first meeting I went to about the 9-step promises. That's where I was supposed to be. Wherever I'm at is where I'm supposed to be. If I stop at the red light and I need to get somewhere, it's because I'm not supposed to be there. My journey here wasn't as easy as a passport. I was on a 787 jet airplane getting ready to be pushed back so I could be here Saturday at 9 a.m. And guess what? 10 minutes before the pushback, we've got a flat tire. Sounds simple enough. I mean, it's a jet plane, but you're in an airport. We're at LAX. We're going to borrow a tire from Air Canada. This is a KLM flight. You borrow a tire. There's not one in the back in the trunk. I mean, isn't there? Don't you have a warehouse with tires in it? Isn't there a spare tire meeting someplace or something? Nearest tires in Las Vegas. Canceled the flight. Which made for a miserable flight the next day with the connecting flight and the smaller seats, and I didn't sleep all the way here. And that's God's will, though. Why? Maybe the wing was going to fall off. Maybe it wasn't a tire. Maybe something else happened. I don't question that. The 9-step promises tell me I don't get to question his will, its will, her will, whatever you want to call it. I don't get to. After the 9th step, I have no control over what I do other than to help others pray and meditate and give back. If you've done the 9th step promises, read them, studied them, and came up with your own list that makes sense to you of what happens to you in your life, I think that every negative thing that happens to me keeps me out of trouble. Every one of them, whether it's the stoplight, knee surgery, whatever the case may be. I had both my knees replaced in October. I thought I was going to run the Boston Marathon 3 weeks later. That didn't happen. I still go through stiffness and a little pain. I can barely run to first base playing kickball with a bunch of sober people like I'm 4 years old. But that's okay. Sometimes it's just about doing the next right indicated thing. Caring about others. Seeing how everyone else is. My sponsor's got a list, the checklist. Chris knows the checklist. Randy knows the checklist. Call 3 other Alcoholics Anonymous a day. Call your sponsor if that's what's required. Go to the minimum amount of meetings plus 1. Now, I didn't understand what that meant. What do you mean the minimum amount of meetings? 1. You say go to a meeting a day, right? But if I need a meeting, I got to have a meeting. Guess what? I probably need 2. If I'm feeling out of sorts, I probably need more than 1. Or maybe I need to call more than 3 or 4 Alcoholics and Addicts a day. What's best for you? I can't tell you what to do. You have to search your soul, your sobriety, your time to decide how that's going to work out for you. Because remember, there's conditions. If I'm painstaking about this phase of this development. And you have to have the book says we have to have our own house in order. There's no question. This is the way it is. Do we love the promises? We do? Do we like all of them and what they do for us? Really? Really? December 12th, 2022. I woke up to my wife in distress. Now, it's normal. I've done this before. She had a condition called hemiplegic migraine syndrome, which caused her to go into a comatose state from time to time, especially after sleeping. So it wasn't uncommon that she wouldn't wake up. Still breathing, checked her pulse, everything's good, blood pressure's good. And she threw up, which she's done before. And so I cleaned her up, made sure air was clear, laid her on her stomach, put some towel, got her all cleaned up. Was going to wait for a while and see if she was going to, go check on her again and wake up. This has happened a dozen times. Stayed at home, called into work. Hey, everything's cool. And I decided to give her a shower. We have a shower chair in the bathroom. And I took the blankets off her, and something didn't look right. And as I rolled her over, her eyes were barely open. So I grabbed my flashlight next to the bed and checked her eyes, and they were pins. I yelled for my daughter, who was in the next room, and we dragged her on the floor, and I started CPR. The police were there in 2 minutes. My youngest daughter called 911, or as a housekeeper. I got to be there to give my wife CPR. Did I like that promise? Not really. Wish I wasn't there, but I got to be there. But guess what? What do the promises do for me? I will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle me. I was there for my daughters. As they're crying, I'm hugging them. My mother shows up, 91 years old. What can I do? Friends in the program brought me a new mattress that day. Guess what I did that night? I went to a meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. You know why? It's what I'm supposed to do. It's what I've been taught to do. You ever been driving down the street and you're thinking you're going to go to the store, but you accidentally turn that street to go home? Because you always turn that street to go home? Because I intuitively knew how to handle that situation. It would have baffled me. What did I do in 1993? How I got sober? My biggest codependent had died. My dad died of cancer. May 14th, 1993. I went on my last run. Lasted a couple weeks. And because that's how I handled that. I barely remember being at his funeral. I remember the 21-gun salute. Pretty much it. But guess what the promises did for me? I got to do my amends with my father while I was still high on cocaine. Because we sat down and we talked about those things. Those expectations he had of me and what I had of him. My story's a little backwards. It isn't all about in order. But I realized after doing the ninth step that I didn't have to. The only amends I had to have to tell my father was, I'm sorry for being a drug addict. Because we had worked all that other stuff out. Now, why did God do that? I don't know. Because when I got in here, I had no interest in coming back to Cocaine. I'd never been to Cocaine Anonymous, and Alcoholics Anonymous didn't work. Because remember, I saw those steps and thought it was for them people. And not for me. Because I wasn't like those alcoholics. I was looking for differences, not similarities. And so when I became a quitter, I didn't know what to do. So what's God do? He sends me an Eskimo. That's a phrase that we use in the United States. It has something to do with the gold miners in Alaska getting stuck in the snowstorm, not knowing which direction to go in, and an Eskimo walks up and says, the igloo's this way, we got hot food and water. Because they're lost. I was lost. God sent me an Eskimo. I can't get a hold of that lady either. I don't know where she is or what happened to her. But she took me into my first meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. And they read, who's a cocaine addict? And it made sense to me. See, God will do for you what you can't do for yourself. If you're willing to listen. You might not think so at the time. But when you look in that rearview mirror, you're going to look back halfway through and go, you know what? When I was halfway through those promises, I can see it. I don't think you're going to see it when you're actually halfway through them, but in retrospect, because that's what it says. Oh, I'm about out of time, aren't I? Hello? Because we got a speaker in here at 8 o'clock, right? All right. On the WhatsApp, I posted my daily chores to stay sober, things I've thought and things I've seen around this program. Some from new people, some from my sponsors, some I've thought of. Please look them up. Pick and choose the ones you honor. I will encourage you to make your own list of promises and things you've seen and things you've done. Don't sell yourself short. The program works if you work it. Snowman, thanks so much, Sheriff.
You still there?
God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.